you doing?
Great. You?
When do you leave for your coronavirus cruise?
March 8th. March 9th? March 8th. See, could be optimistic.
Did you see that one couple, they found out that they could get wine delivered by drone and they had a balcony room, so they just had this, they'd type it in, whatever, and the drone would just deliver wine to them all day long. They just sat on the...
They had to be very close, because a drone distance can only go a few
Well,
miles.
Yeah, I don't know. It's wherever they had that
Oh, maybe out
ship
in
docked.
Ireland?
Yeah, it's wherever...
Oh, you mean in China?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it was
oh.
that one, like, that ship that they couldn't...
Yeah.
That they weren't letting anyone off of. The people
Yeah.
had one of the balcony rooms.
Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. We started our opening meeting with a visit to the old fire station to assess the building, and we also met with Dave Carolina to look at the old Wachusett, which we'll need to address. 6:05, we're meeting with the chief to go through replacement of the police cruiser. 6:45, discussion on Old Peterborough Road. 7:15, road committee applicants, and then we'll address any other business. So, Chief, you want to walk us through the proposal and
The whole proposal?
Just point out the gold plating.
you can skip the title, where it's coming from, I guess, but just as you have explained briefly before about the other options you looked at. And
Well, what you had before you was a quote from MHQ, which is a vendor that we have been using with the police department since 2003 when I was hired. It's a state bid contract for the vehicle. There were other options that we did look at because there was no availability for the Ford that we currently have, because in 2020 they came out with a brand new production model, and of course everything was delayed until everything was sorted out with that. With that being said, we looked at Dodge, and we also looked at Chevy Tahoe. The Dodge Durango, which is a utility vehicle similar to what the Ford Explorer is. There was a 6-month waiting list for that, and we had to order that directly through the factory. The Chevy Tahoe, which is a bigger vehicle, also a utility, was slated to have, I think, almost 60 delivered into the state of New Hampshire, and the regional rep pulled all those back from the state. So there was no timetable on that. While all of that was taking place, I had several conversations with MHQ, and the Ford Interceptor became available again. So the quote you have in front of you is for the vehicle, which also includes transferring some of the equipment out of the 2013 into the new one, and then purchasing new equipment. The problem with the 2020 is that it's a brand new redesign, and everything that is in the 2013 does not fit, which is okay, because a lot of the equipment in that 2013 dates back to 2004, so it's due to be replaced anyway. So the next two vehicles that would be replaced are both 2013s. So the price tag that you see there, $49,671, I think was the overall price on it, would be virtually the same for the next cruiser to be replaced as well. That $49,671 also includes the taking of the old cruiser, so it's a trade-in. They're giving us a whole whopping $1,500 for it.
so. So, I'm wondering, should we keep it?
No.
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 Okay.
No.
Why not?
because it's gonna cost more money to get it ready for the road. That vehicle is grounded right now. It's not inspected.
I don't mean as a police vehicle, whether we were to,
You've already expended the amount of money to exceed the value of that vehicle in repairs alone last year. We've spent over $2,000 in repairs last year to try and make that roadworthy, and it's still not inspectable by state standards. The vehicle's worth $1,500. Why would you throw good money after bad?
that's what I'm asking, is what is wrong with it that won't pass inspection?
It's either the onboard computer and/or it's the exhaust system. That vehicle has been to 2 different Ford factory certified dealers as well as an independent, and neither one can assure me of which way to go with it. And I'm not putting the money on it, into it, and I don't think the town should put the money.
And it probably is one of those things they get, they get the fault to disappear until you drive 5 feet, and then
They can't even clear it.
they can't even
John.
clear it.
They can't clear it. That was the whole issue to begin with. Was back in the spring, we had the issue, go drive it around,
Mhm.
because it hadn't been run enough hours and enough miles, so we did that. It cleared the code. September rolls around, we get time for inspection, it's not showing any codes at all. Put it on the machine, it won't pass. Hillsborough Ford and Townsend Ford had it both for over a week, and they could not articulate why it would not pass inspection. So their deduction is, it's either the onboard computer or it's the exhaust system.
Which are both way
Which
more than what it's worth.
Both are way more than what it's worth, and I don't think it's worth putting that money into it for another town vehicle.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Question, Chief.
Yeah.
I noticed that the main vehicle is a hybrid electric, so it's a...
This is not a hybrid electric,
Oh,
this is gas.
all right.
That's why the second line item
That's
is
why the
red.
second line in red
Takes it...
takes the hybrid out of it.
All right, okay. My misunderstanding.
No, they are pushing the hybrid extremely hard, but it's a first-year production run, and I would be very leery of that, and I don't think it's gonna be conducive to our needs in this rural area.
Second question, I think you noted that we have 2 2013 vehicles currently. Did we need to replace the other one as well?
It's gonna need to be replaced, but quite honestly, I'm gonna try and hold off until as far into the year as I can do it. I need to get some spread in between the mileage on these cars. If I were to go and buy 2 right now, which currently I don't have the funding for, we would be replacing 2 again 3 years down the road.
So the
So we need to
cycle-
try and,
Cycle gets off. I was just wondering if we might be able to get some sort of deal, or if we'd be missing a window or a production.
no, and that's something I checked into, MHQ, because it's a state contract. The price of the price is the price for the vehicle. They don't do package deals of, 2 or more or anything like that,
But-
so.
The question, I guess, is that we were having difficulties finding a replacement vehicle. Will we have trouble in the future?
No, and the reason I can say that with reasonable certainty is because the delay for the release of the 2020 production was more so for the aftermarket and secondary equipment that was going in. It was giving time for the manufacturers to get enough stock and supply available for the release.
Okay.
Accept the motion. Motion to purchase the 2020 vehicle cruiser at $49,671.51.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chief, while we have you, before you get away, Scott, I know I don't think we've heard from Vertex recently.
We have not.
I don't know if they're going to actually do anything this year, or you haven't made any effort to contact them?
Can I interrupt a second here? I want to go back and finish this here.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I'm saying is,
Apologies.
the selectmen are the agents to expend, so we'll sign this. Is this what needs to go back to them?
That needs to go with a PO.
Okay.
And in years past, I have signed that and I have submitted that. So if we're gonna change,
We
process,
should, because of
which
the
is
way
fine.
the capital reserve account was set up,
that's fine.
just,
Everybody's done it different, so
I'd like to
I
do it
apologize.
right way, so that if somebody comes back and says, well, you
Then
know
I
how
just
those
wanna
things,
Yep, and my recommendation would be then for the board to sign the PO.
whatever.
That's fine.
I would like to get that submitted as soon as
Yep.
we can.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay,
Sorry.
I was concerned we hadn't heard from Vertex, and I don't know, and I know we were talking about putting a hold on some communication equipment, and I don't know how well your current communication equipment is holding up out there. If you're having problems with it, if it's working fine. But do we have a backup plan in case Vertex decides they're not building their tower? Or,
No,
I mean, have we, thought about Plan B or what's happening, or?
We keep what we have.
we keep what we have and just.
That was just an
status quo.
opportunity for us.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than an opportunity. It helps solidify the communications around the town for us, okay?
Right, but that was
But-
an opportunity to
Correct.
get it up
Correct.
higher to
Yep.
make everything else work, but if they don't come, it was just
Then
like,
there's not a whole lot I can do.
who was the
Yeah.
other one, US Cellular.
No,
Correct.
They had the same,
Yep.
It's just we gave Scott a tentative approval, if I recall, didn't we, on some equipment or not?
no,
Well, that was
no.
when we were talking about encumbering funds before the end of
Right,
last year.
yeah.
And that, there just weren't enough funds to encumber to cover what we
Nothing,
were
nothing
doing.
got encumbered,
Yeah.
okay, fine. So whether Vertex comes through or not, we just wait. All right.
Scott, if there's a day that we need to swing by and sign a PO, just,
Well, I'll try to generate that tomorrow, and I'll
Okay.
let you know
Alright.
if it's ready, and we
Great.
can leave it available, so
Okay,
we
perfect.
can sign it and we can keep going on.
Please.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Anything else?
Awesome. Thank you for hanging around this evening.
Good night.
You too.
Discussion regarding Old Peterborough Road numbering. From what I've read in that court case, that was Coed and Gray versus New Ipswich, there was a case 1, case 2, A and B. So there were multiple items. The first issue that came up was that in 1844, Old Ridge Road and Old Peterborough Road were discontinued by town vote. Their point during the lawsuit was they acknowledged that, and they were in dispute with the abutters about how they could access their land. One of the cases was because the abutter sued them for trespassing and whatnot. But getting down to the gist of it, when it came to a second suit, or suit B, they raised the point that it was discontinued improperly. The master at that time said, well, look, in case 1, you already acknowledged it, so we're not going to go back to that. But their contention was that it had been discontinued by a vote of the town. But back then, it was required that you not only get the vote of the town, you needed to get approval by the court, and it never was approved by the court. So when I'm reading this, I'm like, well, does that mean it was discontinued legally? illegally, how did other property owners get permits to build? Because if you go back to the state RSA, they say you either build on a 3, 4, 5 class road, or if the town and planning board have approved for building on a class 6 road, or on a approved private road, you can do that. Well, in their case, they don't land on any of that. And the other item was in 1982, I believe it was. Won't quote that date. But Chapman Road was discontinued.
Correct.
So now I'm saying, well, I got a discontinued road here, discontinued road here. The road connecting the two is discontinued, and we're being asked to give it a name. The best, and I'm saying, my opinion is this should go to council to address, is that because Chapman Road was a private, well, must have been a town road if it got discontinued.
Yeah, I think originally it was a class 6, and in,
Right.
I think it was 2002, it was discontinued absolutely.
And what does that mean?
I'm not a lawyer.
I couldn't find anything in there about discontinued absolutely.
Well, this is
Everything I see, it's either discontinued,
Yep.
discontinued subject to gates and bars, or it changes to a trail, but I couldn't find anything on
Yeah.
discontinued
And
absolutely.
isn't there a little subdivision loop off of Chapman Road up a ways?
Wildcat.
Right,
But that's the only thing on Chapman Road,
Yeah.
is that
yeah,
there. But I'm saying, I always thought Old Peterborough Road and Old Range Road were class 6 roads. So that's what, when I came in, I asked Jessica, because being the town clerk, she should have records of all the town roads. So I started going through what she had, and I knew time was gonna run out, so I asked her to go through it if she found anything. But unless you guys have a different thought, I think,
so it's, if I'm understanding your research correctly, it's either a class 6 or it's discontinued. It's one of those two. Or is it somewhere in limbo?
well, Debbie emailed me a thing today saying that the LGC says it's discontinued.
Right.
Well, I don't agree with that if the lawsuit's original premise was they discontinued it incorrectly. And it did say, and even in, I think it was Hard Road to Travel, even said that back then you did need town approval and court approval, and their contention was they never got court approval. So it really wasn't discontinued. But then in their case, that's when the master said, well, you've already acknowledged in this case it was discontinued, so we're not gonna go back on that.
Right. Basically, what she says here is from LGC
Right.
is that the Supreme Court decision only reversed how the Superior Court reached a decision. It did not reverse the Superior Court ruling that both roads were discontinued.
Okay. So I think we can assume that it's discontinued.
Why? If they didn't,
Because the court, the Supreme Court agreed with the intent, not necessarily with the methodology.
but their suit, that whole lawsuit, had nothing to do with that road. What it had to do with was when they bought, my understanding, when they bought the property, they needed to get access up there.
Mm-hmm.
The town was telling them, well, you should come up Chapman Road. And they said, well, because the land that I believe that they bought was the one that's on the corner of Old Range and Old Peterborough. Well, they said, well, why am I gonna come up Chapman and have to get all the way over here when you've got this road? That was number one. Then when they were coming up this road, The neighbor said, "You can't come up my property. You're trespassing. I'm suing you." That was another case.
Because you own half
Yes.
the road, okay.
Yeah, and then there was something with one of the other abutters.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this could get a little sticky, and without having true facts. One of my things I was going to try and do, and I did not get around to it, was go and ask Jeff Gray. He was party to that, and see what.
Well, I mean, I know you suggested we refer it to council. Is Bart a land attorney? Because this is a sticky wicket. Or
presume
should,
they would.
should it go to somebody more specialized?
No, I think somebody at Upton and Hatfield, if not Bart,
Yeah.
there's gotta be somebody on their staff that would be able to
Well-
deal with this.
What he should do, Jeff Crocker argued the case on behalf of the town,
From Tom Crocker and Mullen.
who is now with Upton and Hatfield.
So I mean, I think if we could just send him that email that has LGC's response and the case, and say, what are we looking at here, and explain this. It's really just coming down to they've gotten their permits, they've got their land, the whole deal.
But all I'm thinking? What happens, there was a lady and she's rescinded her application, but was looking to do,
Yeah, the chicken.
what do you call that, processing facility, whatever. I don't know if she ever bought the land or whatnot, but she said her intent was to put a house there and whatnot. And I'm like, after reading this, I'm like, well, we can't give a building permit. There's no road there. There's no road frontage. Unless it got relayed out again.
So
Hi, Laurie.
Hi. So just to be clear, that's the whole reason the selectmen were the ones that approved him to build there. If
Yes.
you remember?
Yes.
Mhm.
We
I
did.
just
Yes.
wanted for the record, because I know.
Before you came in, I said my understanding was both of those roads were a Class
Exactly.
6 road.
So, because in the deed it says discontinued Old Peterborough Road, so Rick would have denied a permit because of that. So that's why they came to you. And you guys approved it.
yes.
But does his property abut Chapman Road? I believe it would.
No, I don't believe it does, actually, if you look at his lot.
No, I don't think so.
He's got like 65, 70 acres or something out there.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
you got
it's
Chapman-
Like half mile down the road, I think.
He is, Rick said he's quite a ways in, and basically when we looked at the lot,
It does not abut
So
Chapman.
basically, our
It
only
just- yeah,
stipulation,
it's-
we can't give him a house number.
when you measure it, he's almost a half mile in from the Chapman Road end, and a little over a half mile in from the Old Ringe Road
But
end.
when he came in,
Yeah,
he was saying, well, I want to come up
yeah,
Old Peterborough Road.
yeah.
So I'm thinking he owns that land.
So I guess my whole issue is, are we looking at two separate things? One, get a clarification on what the road is.
Mhm.
But no matter what the road is, it sounds to me that we're going to have to rename that chunk.
But you can't rename
No,
it if it's
no.
not a road.
No,
That's the predicament.
no,
So
I think we
but
would be
it's-
stuck giving.
Right, but
him
what I
a
mean
number.
is, doesn't it just
7-14
become a
is-
private driveway?
No, we give him a number off of Old Peterborough Road, and he has to live with the
Yes.
consequences.
But how can you give him a number off Old Peterborough Road if there is no Old Peterborough Road? That's why I was hoping that his land went at least to Chapman, because that would have been one of the other things in that list that they say that you can build on, is if you had a platted road at the time, even if it got,
Well, Chapman is discontinued.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the far end of his property is still about a quarter of a mile from Chapman Road.
So, I mean, he's gonna get a number on discontinued road.
so who's between,
Regardless.
there's another lot between Chapman Road and his,
Yeah, so that's lot 7. No, his is 7-4, or 6-14. This is 6-7.
Well, what if we
Yeah,
renumber the one on the corner that's on Chapman as A, whatever number, and then his is B?
so this is where Victoria Chan wants to build it. That's where the chicken processing was. This is Brock.
Wait a minute, where is Old Peterborough? And it's still shown on ours.
Right.
David, there's a bigger map she just brought in
Yeah.
for you.
I think we opened the can of worms by giving them those approvals.
Road, Old Peterborough Road. Which one is his?
His is this one, the 60 acres right here.
Okay.
So Chapman's way down here. So
Right,
where
Chapman.
Wildcat is, where that,
Yeah,
that,
so this is part, this is all Wildcats.
Right.
So he abuts them.
right.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Victoria Chan, is she, well, hers is gonna be part of this.
Did she buy that?
She did, yep, and she is planning on building a house, and Andy is building
Right here.
right here.
Yeah, so how
So
come?
he's on Old Peterborough, but
Yeah, but he also, I think Rick said because he's around the corner here, he might give him an
But this was
Old Ridge.
discontinued. Old Ridge and Old Peterborough
Right.
Road were
Except
both
that,
discontinued.
except that you have several properties on
Yeah,
there.
and that's why I said, well, how did,
Yeah. Yeah, so this might be an opportunity to clean up a lot of little issues.
Like I said, I mean, like I said, I think we're looking at
I don't know what that
two,
process would be.
right, but we're looking at two issues. One is the guy needs a number. That's however we have to do it.
And the suggestion from E911, because it's impassable, most of
Mhm.
Old Peterborough is
Right,
impassable.
you gotta take
is
it
to
in.
have them come in from the Chapman end and rename that.
Right.
You can do that, but you actually have to lay out that road. You know, Debbie was like, oh, we'll just change it. I said, no, it's not that easy.
Mm.
You have to lay out the road, and I said, you know, tell me how many feet from the intersection of Chapman, how many feet in you're gonna rename what used to be Old Peterborough Road to a new name. I said, probably means it's gonna have to be surveyed. And, you know, much like we would do in the subdivision plan, is when we're done, we should have, have a layout.
Well, typically, if
Have
there
a
are
width
stone
and
walls
length
there, you can use the
and-
stone walls, you don't need to
Right.
survey it. But I'm just
But we have,
typically to either accept a private road or to lay out the road. Those are gonna be two different steps to do the layout,
right, but we have to agree on,
length and,
right,
right.
if we're gonna rename it. If we just, and so we have an E911 issue, and then we just have a regular,
Right,
But
and that's
if
what I'm
we
saying,
were
we
to
got-
lay it out,
We're looking at two different issues.
right,
well, three now, in my opinion,
Okay.
we could lay out the whole thing and all the way to Old Ridge, because we
Right.
have houses on there,
Right.
you know? At least to a class 6.
right.
And I don't know what that process is for a class 6. I know the layout goes to a class 5. I don't know if it's the same process for a class 6 or not. I don't.
So,
So we've got house number, we have to deal with the discontinuance, and we have to deal with the layout.
And I think the house number's gonna come later than what they probably want.
I would suggest referring it to council and ask him
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, take a look at
provide
it
a
all
plan.
first.
Yeah.
or provide some recommendations as to how we should proceed.
And if I recall, yeah, because that was the other thing, is when that was discontinued, Route 124 wasn't there.
Right.
And I think that threw something into it, because it said once the state route went through, it cut off Old Ridge Road. And that's what prompted their access and then the trespassing.
We have Bart coming here next Thursday, right?
Yeah, is it the 5th?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, maybe that should be a discussion with him, because
Yeah,
At least
well,
if he
well,
could
I think
look
it
at
would
it
be helpful
beforehand.
to see the visual.
Yeah, probably
support
give them a
material.
heads up in advance. so they
Yeah,
can
just
Yeah,
so
I'll
he
send
can-
them when I can electronically,
yeah.
but I think,
Do you, if you need, because it took me a while to find it, but I did get the copy of that text of the court case.
send me everything you have. I know Debbie's got a lot of it as well,
Okay,
and I'll just try to consolidate
Yeah.
as much as I can and send it to him electronically. Explain the situation, but I think a visual will help him understand a lot better.
and please let him know that Jeff Crocker was representing the town and that he's, because Bart's in the Concord office, and I think Jeff is in the Peterborough office.
Okay.
But
All right.
the two can talk. Road committee applicants. I saw your email, Scott, for people
Yep.
that applied. I don't know if you had any names or
I
if you
had
any names.
no individual names.
I had two individuals. One was Walker Fari. He's
How do you spell the last name?
F-A-R-E-Y.
And where's he live? Do you know?
He lives Beefit, about there.
Okay.
And
So it's Darkland?
he oversees the site division for Hutter, so he had experience with roads. He's also on the ZBA.
Okay.
And the other one that said if we needed him was Matt Sari. He lives,
Is he the one? He lives off of Turnpike. Is that the?
no, he lives off of, lives on Finn Hill.
Okay. Is that Melissa's husband? Melissa and Matt? Sorry, is that? No. No. No, it's the other. Sorry,
Okay.
I think.
Only because that warrant article said people with experience with road
Exactly.
building, so I reached out to them and they both said, yep, if you need me.
I mean, I don't know about
Aye.
either one of those, any of those individuals, so whatever.
And I know you had, I saw Marcus on your list.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
Marcus.
he was one of the people that was on the other original road committee. The other two gentlemen on that list, I don't know who they are, not
Yeah.
that.
Joe
Um,
Dykers.
I don't know Joe Dykers, but I know
Sean Bader.
Sean Bator. I don't know what his experience is on roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak to him either.
But I mean, I think he was one of the ones that came in and was.
Was that the one with the driveway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it wasn't a drive. Well, he's driving, but it was the fact that we actually made the pipe do what it's supposed to, and it went.
Oh, okay, that was a different one then,
I'm pretty sure that's who that was.
okay.
Isn't his wife?
See, I think those were two different things. I think
Okay.
he was the one where, when they put down the paving at his driveway apron, he was saying there was mud there and it was pumping, so they went back and cut it out. But the other one was a different issue.
Okay. So yeah, could be different ones. Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, different one. Yeah. Okay. So again, I don't know what his experience, because I'm getting confused between somebody else. But
And I made, Peter's aware of the folks. I copied him on the memo
Mhm.
that I sent to you. I was hoping that he'd give me some feedback by now, but I haven't heard anything back from him.
Yep.
But if you want, I can share the additional two names. You want some input from him before you make a decision?
No, I think we ought to get them moving as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I did get a call from John saying he was interested, and I
Yeah.
saw he was on your list.
Yeah. And I'm good with John and Nate.
I'm reluctant to put John on simply because he's had some medical issues, and if we have to walk the roads, he might not be able to do so.
I think he's up and running now. I
Yeah,
mean, he got clear.
I mean, I'm happy with Deidre, simply because she's been on the capital improvement committee and she's pretty involved with things, but she does have some scheduling issues from time to time.
Mhm.
She's still traveling?
About every other-
However, it is her.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of hesitant, but
Yeah.
when she did the warrant article, I said, well, I don't know that I'd have the same person, but if it's supposed to be,
Yeah, that was my issue. I'd rather have
yeah.
someone,
And Nate,
two
I know
members
he
of-
knows
yeah, Nate,
construction.
exactly.
Yeah, Nate was fine.
And I'm fine with John Shumlawful
Yeah.
on it. Like I said, my issue specifically with Dee was it's her article, so I kind of feel there's a conflict there in putting her on the committee, if there is some sort of agenda in that. Not saying there is or isn't,
Yeah.
but that's my
No,
issue
no,
with
My
it.
concern is her availability more than anything else.
So I'd
So
be
we were gonna do,
two
do
planning
board.
so
So
I
that
would
would be
say
Nate and John.
and John, and then
And-
two members.
Two members of the
public.
public at large.
oh, the DPW director.
Yeah,
I'm saying, who's the
good.
fifth?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the DPW director.
DPW director.
So I would suggest this Walker Farley
Yeah, Walker and what do you
Farley.
think, Marcus?
and Marcus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
that sounds like a good selection.
Yeah.
Good.
Need a motion to vote on that?
Motion to appoint those four: John Shumlawful, Nate Sikala, Walker Fari, and Marcus Radiola to the Roads Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, the quicker we can have that going right after March 10th, the better. And actually, if they can
Nate.
discuss it so that we can, if they have the selectmen's recommendations, or they should have
They
at
want,
that point.
yeah. When's the town report coming?
Town report's here.
Oh, they have it.
Yeah.
Yep, it arrived, Monday, it wasn't Thursday of last week,
Just the galley or the printed reports?
the printed reports.
Can we get copies advance?
I should have grabbed 2 copies actually in Debbie's office, I can grab you some before you leave.
It's double R on ferry.
F-A-R-R-E-Y.
F-A-R-R-E-Y,
F-A-R-R-E-Y.
okay, thank you. Do you have a, email address that I can notify him?
Laurie has it.
Laurie has it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So next week is candidates night, right? So we're here 6 to 7, and then
Yep.
candidates start.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you want to start earlier, or
No, that's
Just-
good.
just ask her.
You
What they want to get
Let's
done.
say you're just full of information for.
Well, I can get you information other ways, we don't need to have a meeting to get you information. So,
David's going on his cruise, so just leave 2 selectmen for the town meeting.
and you're going out of town at some point too, right?
Just after elections. Otherwise, I'd be gone sooner.
Remember we discussed about Warwick Mills and cleaning up that?
Oh, it's a mess.
I had somebody else tell me that.
I drove
And I'm
past.
like-
No, I realize they probably got some water and there's some stuff frozen, but I mean it has been like that all winter long. It's like they're no longer even trying to put it all into the bins.
Well, they have the blue tarp on it, or had it on there.
Yeah, but when they got the
access.
planning board approval, it was never that we're gonna be stockpiling materials. It was
Correct.
gonna be going in. And after this person asked me, what about that mess? And I says, you know, we did send him a letter.
Mhm.
And as I thought about it, I said, that's my fault, because I didn't get a response back and didn't follow up with them.
But they cleaned up their act, to
Yeah.
an extent,
Well, for a
yes.
little while, it wasn't nearly as bad.
I don't ever recall
It was
seeing
never-
the chips gone. The chips have always been on the left-hand side of that bunker.
I swear there was a 6-month period where it was good.
I don't know about 6 months, but they did. I think they did at least try to.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make them happy, clean it up, make sure, hey guys, scoop it. Even if you got to throw it down
Did
the
you dig out
banking,
that
whatever it
letter
was they
and
were
then
doing.
follow up
They
with
cleaned it
another
up,
letter
and
to
then
them?
they did have where they weren't blocking the road
Yep.
because they had a delivery, and they made sure there were people out there flagging and whatever else. But then, pretty much this entire winter, it's just been a mess out there. And like right now, like I said, I know it's frozen because they've got the wood chips, and you can see the big chunks of ice in the wood chips when they've scraped it up or whatever. But
You know, with the weather that we've been having,
Should be melting.
yeah.
except wood chips actually insulate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's what they used to use in the ice houses. They would use sawdust on the outside. They freeze it, cut out of the legs, put it in the ice houses, and cover it with sawdust, and it would actually keep it for much longer. So they're actually insulating their own issue. But yeah, it's a mess. I passed it a couple times this week because I was going down through Mass. So I was heading out that way. Normally I only go towards Jaffrey now, or I turn before I get there.
Ask Scott to write a letter to them and ask for a response as to how they're going to address this now and in the future.
And you'll follow up with 11 Temple Road.
Yeah,
Anything any closer with the RFP for the,
LED lights.
yeah.
Haven't dug it out to see, I'm trying to, the samples that I have, I'm trying to understand kind of the technology and what they're asking for. And then we have to make some decisions about, as we're replacing lights, how many lumens we want to have at each location.
But that should be part of the RFP for them to review and make recommendations, because I don't think that's in our bailiwick.
Okay, so you want the vendors to make,
Yeah, make
Recommendations.
recommendations that, I'm assuming they're gonna go out and look at the streetlights that they're gonna need to replace, and they can tell us, well, that, this should have X.
all right,
I don't wanna start,
And the other, and only because I again passed it this morning early.
the light at River Road and,
No,
oh,
the fire station.
yeah.
okay. Oh,
Because I thought that was in the original bid, that it was to
Be working.
yeah
And I thought,
mount, install
what
the
did we
whole
have
deal.
there before?
so,
It was just a red flashing light.
It was a yellow, and then I think they had
It
the
would turn
ability.
to red,
Right,
yeah.
and that one doesn't have green. I did check. It's yellow, red. It's two
Oh, I
yellows and a
couldn't tell
red.
what color they were, because
It's two yellows and a red. I
Two
looked.
yellows and a
I looked
red.
this
Okay.
afternoon as I went by, just because you had said something.
Okay,
But like I said, I noticed this morning when I drove out of town because it was dark that it wasn't flashing yet.
yeah.
And when I drove back into town, I looked to see what colors there. It's like, and I think it's a bigger yellow, a smaller yellow, and then a small red.
I've never seen one like that. So
Yeah.
what would it be? The two yellows always flashing?
probably the bigger yellow is always
Always flashing, and
The
then
second yellow probably goes solid to warn people it's about to turn red.
Oh,
and then the red.
So, yeah, I got an update on that from Mark.
Okay.
And the original contractor, they only brought it to a certain point where there was a junction box, and that's where they left it, and then we have to have somebody else do the rest. Now, he had Grace Electric look at it, And he asked for a quote. And we actually have some things going on in this building, updating some of the exit signage and things like that. And they claim that their quote for both of those included that down there, but he and I looked at the quote and I said, do you see anywhere in this quote that says anything about the fire station? So he's gonna call them back and get clarification. It's like,
Yeah, just put it in writing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we have a number here, and if you're saying that includes the fire station, great. And then there was some
Will you-
discussion about
Will you
whether
notify Marcus?
Yep,
Just talk to him.
okay.
That's Grace Electric.
Oh, is it? So, so now the question is whether to do it, I guess the original one was underground, and there's some concern about whether it should just be done aerially versus underground this time. So that has to be ironed out as well. But Mark is working that issue, so hopefully we'll have answers shortly and get it done.
When we met this evening with Dave Carolina on the Wachusett, and they've got money in there, I'd like us to take some time to go through the budget and see where we can get funding to get those items paid for that they've paid for.
Okay.
I don't think it should come out of
No,
the
not out of that.
volunteer's pocket,
No,
for a
but I
down piece of
mean,
equipment.
where do you wanna start looking within the budget?
Well, let's wait till the vote goes through and then we'll
Yeah,
take a look.
Yeah.
See what we can come up with.
I don't wanna start spending before.
Right.
Before we have it in the pocket?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
not a good practice. You guys have anything new?
I don't have anything to.
No, I'm good.
Scott?
I'm good. I think I've passed on everything I've had to you electronically this week, so
Great.
nothing else has jumped out, luckily.
I can start writing things down, because there was something I said that has nothing to do with any, normally I run through my head all the different departments, but this one I said, remember, it doesn't have to do with the
Yeah,
department.
start using your notes section. You
Yeah,
find.
I do, reminders, notes.
I use my notes section all the time.
But just
Yeah,
to remember to look.
yeah.
So, all right,
Yeah.
motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?